All right, this is part 3 of sketching a fashion flat in Illustrator in 20 minutes, and we're gonna dive right in because I do have 20 minutes and we are already getting tight on time because I'm talking. So here we go. If you didn't watch the other 2 parts, you can check them out, links below. But in this one, we're going to draw the fur on the collar and we're gonna draw the belt. So let's start with the belt. I'm gonna zoom in down here. I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool. Instead of trying to draw this as this like sort of complex curve shape, I'm gonna let Illustrator do the work for me. So I'm gonna start with just a rectangle that looks about the right size that I need, and let's definitely change that to default stroke and fill, hotkey letter D. I'm gonna come up to Object, Path, Add Anchor Points, which is a feature we already used. That drops an anchor point halfway along any of the paths. With that, I can nudge this over because my guess is that this belt has a little point on it. From here, I'm going to add my stitching. Again, we've done all this when we created this pocket in video 2. So again, object, path, offset path. You'll notice we use a lot of the same features over and over again. And when you use Illustrator for Fashion, this is kind of what it becomes. You learn some of the set tools and you get really good and you just use the same features over and over. So once I've got that drawn, now in reality, there wouldn't be stitching right there. So take that off because that would wrap. And let's see, we want to add some grommets. So I'm going to grab from my trim library up here my symbols, which again, I'm giving you guys free access to my entire trim library right here. Grab that below in the link and we will, let's see, we want to have 4 of these. So I'm going to hold the Option or Alt key to click and drag, hold Shift to constrain the axis, and then Command or Control D to do that again 2 more times. Great, great, great shortcut. Command or Control D is transform again, and it will replicate that thing you just did. I think the buckle I want is this one. That looks pretty good. I'm going to drop that there. A couple things I'm noticing though. This bar, I wouldn't see, it would actually be hidden behind. So let's right click on this. Let's break the link to the symbol. And now I'm just going to delete what I don't need. That looks pretty good. Maybe I nudge this in a bit to be a little bit closer. All right, now once that is done, I'm going to take this entire thing. Oh, I do need to draw the belt loops. So let's do those really quick. Again, we're going to do those using the exact same techniques we have learned for drawing the actual belt. So Command or Control G to group that. I do want that grouped independently. And then let's draw our first belt loop here. Hotkey letter D for our default settings. Object, path, add anchor points. Grab my direct selection tool, select that anchor point, nudge it up. Grab my selection tool, object, path, offset path. Okay, that looks good, although my offset's a little tight. I'm gonna undo that. Object, path, offset path. I'm gonna make this a little smaller. I'm gonna make it 0, 2. Let's turn our preview on. That looks a little better for an object that size. And grab our stitching, so apply that. Now I will grab my snap. And again, that guy's a little big, so let's make him smaller. Now we'll group this object. And there's another one of those, so it's over here, just on the other side of the buckle. Now I've got my entire belt drawn. I'm gonna take this entire thing and group it as one entity. So I've got my loops grouped and then my belt grouped. With this done, I'm gonna just choose Object, whoops, where am I? Effect, Effect, Warp. Now there's a lot to choose from. You can just sort of go down the line with your preview on and play around with these, but I want arc and I can play with the bend and I want it just a little bit negative bend, right? So now instead of me drawing this manually, I let Illustrator do the work for us, which sounds a lot better, right? That sounds like a much better deal to me. So once I've got that drawn, I am getting to be in pretty good shape, so let's turn off that layer. We look pretty good. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of this green to black. So I'm going to select one, select same stroke color. Change that to black. And let's go ahead and select the entire outline of our jacket and give him a white fill because we are getting really close to being done. All right, so that looks good. Let's turn, what do I want to turn off? I'm going to turn off, actually, I'm going to take this, send this to the back using the keyboard shortcut because I lost a few details. That's fine. Lock that, and let's add our fur on a new layer. So with this done, I'm gonna turn off that layer and we're gonna draw our fur real fast. So what I'm gonna do with the fur is I'm just gonna grab the pen tool. I'm gonna just kind of freehand this, okay? Because I'm just gonna try to draw a general shape that emulates the collar. I'm gonna grab this, grab my hotkey as letter O for reflect, Option Alt click along the center front, copy. Now these got a little overlapped, so I'm gonna select both of them and I'm going to do Option Command Shift J, which average and joins them at the same time, so it'll adjust the position so you don't get that weird bend. Again, Option Command Shift J, and that's done. Now from here, I'm gonna do a really cool feature. I'm gonna come up to Effect, Distort and Transform. I'm gonna choose Roughen. Again, you can play around with these to see what results you get. Turn my preview on, and that looks wild at first. So we're gonna adjust some of these settings. Now, I've played with this before. I know I want it to be about a 1 inch. I want it to be smooth, also not corner. And how much detail? I kind of want some good detail in there. I want to show like the rough edges of the ruffle, or not the ruffle, the fur. So with that, oops, I don't know why the preview's not working. That's weird. With those settings done, and again, just play around with this. Depending on the size of your sketch, your settings may be different. I'll click OK, and that is done. Now to finish this off, we're just gonna add the actual fur texture. So I create this as a brush. I find it to be the easiest way to add fur. It's really just a bunch of squiggly lines turned into a brush. And it's as simple then as selecting that brush of fur and sort of filling, whoops, got a little wild on there, filling in the collar. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Keep doing this until you get the density that you like. Again, you can change the size of the brush. You can make your squiggly lines bigger or smaller depending on what you like the aesthetic of or what type of fur you're emulating. You could add more colors of squiggles if it's like really speckly fur. Again, it's sort of up to you and your design and what you're trying to emulate, but that's a really quick way to do your fur. From here, I'll turn this other layer back on, and our jacket is getting really close to done. We will wrap up the finishing details in part 4. Again, you can find more resources and tutorials and support on getting ahead in the cutthroat fashion industry at my website, successfulfashiondesigner.com.